What is this class about? This is a philosophy of religion course, which is a rigorous, critical introduction to philosophical theology, that is, the philosophical study of religion. What does this mean? We examine religious beliefs, assertions, arguments, and explanations for coherence and truth. Why? Religion influences profoundly our culture and personal lives because it provides ethical guidelines and offers answers to important questions about ourselves and the world. In a philosophy course such as this, we test answers to enduring questions about the implications of religious experience, the existence and nature of God, the possibility of miracles, the problem of evil, the relation of faith to reason, the conflict between religion and science, and the relation between religion and ethics. What this course is not. This is not a religion appreciation course. For that, I recommend a religious studies course. However, it is a course aimed at appreciating the importance of religion. This is not a course which will spend much time trying to explain why people are or are not religious. For that, take a psychology or anthropology course. However, we must distinguish personal, emotional, historical, or practical reasons for belief from public, rational reasons for belief. If we want to know whether someone has a good justification for believing something, then it will not matter whether they believe what they do because they are enlightened or ignorant, whether they actually communicate with gods or are manipulated by frauds, or whether they are motivated by loving kindness or fear and greed. This is not a course in deciding which religion is true or the most useful or the most righteous. In this course, we try to decide whether specific religious claims are true or worth accepting based on rational rather than emotional reasons. We seek to understand religious beliefs and practices in the contexts of one's experiences, values, and culture. What are the major goals of this course? In this course, we consider answers to these questions. What is religion, and why is it important? What do mystical experiences tell us? Should one believe in miracles? Can one be good without God? Why is there so much pain and suffering? Can one prove God exists? Does reason support or undermine faith? Are science and religion compatible? We now begin Learning Module 1 slideshow. See Learning Module 1 in SAC-CT. Religion defined, its origins and philosophical import. Religion is many things to many people. It is old, complex, diverse, predominant in most societies, and culturally significant. It is also philosophically important since it allegedly reveals ultimate truths and tells us what we should believe and what we should and should not do. In this course, we focus on this third point. First, review the following required readings and the to-do list in the learning module. Next, watch the slideshow. See Ninian Smart's Introduction to World Religions. This excerpt is available in Google Books online. Note Smart's defining characteristics of religion. We discuss these soon. See also Poyman and Ray's Introduction. This is in the course text. Also see Charles Telefero's Philosophy of Religion article. This is an overview article in the online Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. There is also a link to it on the to-do list in Learning Module 1. Please realize items above are not all that you need to read or view for this module, but you will need to read each of these. In general, whenever you see an item in blue in a slideshow or on a web page, it refers to material available in the text or within the learning module or on the web via a hyperlink. Learning objective of this slideshow: examine answers to these questions. Why is it important to understand religious worldviews and the nature of religion? What is religion? How diverse are religious worldviews? Why are people religious? What is the philosophy of religion? Think of these as study questions. As you view course material for this section, try to frame your own answers in light of what you learn. Why is it important to understand religious worldviews and the nature of religion? Here's Ninian Smart on the importance of studying religions. Religion has been and remains a vital and perhaps even essential part of human life and societies. Western civilization has been inspired and shaped by Semitic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. One cannot understand the course of modern Western history or its origins and social practices without knowing something about Semitic religions. If we want to understand or appreciate the values of the many and diverse cultures of the world, we need to know something about the source of culture and values. One can't understand the Middle East unless one understands Islam. Philosophers think religion is important. Here's Plato, the Greek philosopher, in his Theaetetus, circa 360 BCE. Wonder is the feeling of a philosopher, and philosophy begins in wonder. We are all philosophers. Anyone who ever wonders about what is true and what is not. Anyone who seeks knowledge rather than ignorance, or anyone who wonders what they should or should not do, is thinking philosophically. Philosophers of religion focus on characteristics 3, 4, 5, and 6 of Smart's description of religion: myths, doctrine, ethics, and ritual. They consider what religions accept and recommend that we think and do is credible, and whether what religious practitioners do and say is acceptable. In short, religion gives us values, knowledge, comfort, hope, courage, and joy. It can also inspire prejudice, discrimination, terror, war, and genocide. This makes it worth taking seriously. What is religion? Here's a definition from the Oxford English Dictionary. A system of beliefs and practices based on belief in or acknowledgement of some superhuman power or powers. Also, any particular such system. What you need to know about a dictionary is that it tells you how a word is used. A dictionary tells us how the word religion is used, but it is not much help given the diversity of religions and our desire to understand what is common to them all. According to Ninian Smart, most, if not all, religions can be described usefully, but not perfectly, as having these attributes or dimensions: the experiential dimension, the social dimension, the mythical, the dogmatic, the ethical, ritualistic, the artistic. Let's look at these dimensions more closely. The experiential dimension refers to very non-ordinary, often emotional experiences. For example, visions, visitations, spirit possession, devotion, inner peace, out-of-body experiences, enlightenment, epiphanies. The social dimension, when more than one person shares an experience, or there are communities and hierarchies. For example, a caste system, a clergy, church, seminaries, prayer meetings, Bible school, madrasas, mediators, teachers, shamans, rabbis, priests, imams, gurus. There's the mythical dimension, which refers to stories about experience for later participants. For example, personal narratives, origin stories, virgin births, resurrections, prophets, ascensions, moral leaders, Messiah, Savior, hero, who restores justice and order, saint stories, healings, miracles. The experiential dimension in Buddhism here, for instance, enlightenment, 4 scenes from the life of the Buddha. The social dimension. This depicts the pilgrimage. For Muslims, this is something each Muslim should do or should strive to do in their lifetime. This is in Saudi Arabia. You'll recall the story of Noah's Ark. This is the mythical dimension. The dogmatic dimension refers to doctrinal beliefs within a rational system. Creeds, a catechism, a belief in supernatural creator deities, God proofs. Zeus as king of the gods, Odin as god of wisdom, war, and bringer of victory, Mithra as protector of truth and justice, Moses as lawgiver, Jesus as Messiah, Muhammad as messenger. The idea that good triumphs over evil, the idea that evil is soul building, stories about paradise, the underworld, heaven, hell, liberation of the soul from the body at death, an afterlife. Canonical texts are the divine word of gods, free will of persons, sacred texts, Vedas, Sutras, the Bible, the Quran. These are all dogmatic dimensions. The ethical dimension refers to moral codes of behavior that correspond with beliefs. For example, the Ten Commandments, fatwas, precepts, golden rules, prescriptive and proscriptive declarations, persecution of apostates, intolerance of infidels, subjugation of women, commerce, politics, and family relations dictated by canon law, Sharia law, jihad. The dogmatic dimension within the Abrahamic religions. This is God creating the animals. The ethical dimension, most religions have the idea that you should give to those in need. Giving charitably is encouraged. The ritualistic dimension refers to practical methods for repeated access to experience of the divine. For example, baptism, circumcision, prayer, transubstantiation, meditation, chants, yoga, worship, pilgrimage, charity, sacraments, sacrifice, anointing of the sick, last rites. The artistic dimension refers to the aesthetic, material manifestations of the sacred for participants. For example, revealed holy places, shrines, temples, a church, a synagogue, a mosque, sacred icons and imagery, sacred works of art, relics, shrines. So let's use Smart's account as our working definition or principle. It states essentials, but remains inadequate. If X is a religion, then it has essential properties 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Whatever lacks one or more of these properties is not a religion. The ritual dimension, again in Hebrew scripture, this is Abraham about to sacrifice his son Isaac. The artistic dimension, and doctrinal as well, is realized here in this imagery. This is God creating the sun, the moon, and the planets. So if X is a religion, it has Smart's essential properties, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. There may be other interesting properties, but these 7 will be necessary and sufficient for a philosophical analysis. For all religions, these seem to be the most important. In these ways do different religions resemble one another. Whatever lacks most of these properties is not a religion. If some worldviews or rituals will count as religion, then others must not. It doesn't help to get clear on what someone believes or does if everything called religion counts as religion. Here is my argument. If every social practice or set of deeply held beliefs about the world counts as a religion, then the term religion is meaningless or denotes nothing special. But religion, the term and its referent, is meaningful and special. See all of the examples of each dimension in world religions. Therefore, some social practices or sets of deeply held beliefs about the world are not religions. Here's a question for discussion. Suppose atheism refers to the worldview or set of deeply held beliefs that no gods exist, and that people can be righteous and do good deeds without gods existing or without people believing in any gods. Is atheism a religion? Some conventions. Religion is many things to many people, but I confine our discussion to any system of beliefs, rituals, values, rules that comprise a worldview featuring a transcendent, super-powerful creator of the universe. This is minimal, essential, and clarifying, but only if we ignore atheistic religions such as Buddhism. In this course, we focus on Western religions for better or worse. A theist believes that there is at least one God. An atheist believes the opposite. An atheist believes that there are no gods. An atheist does not believe there are any gods. Neither theism nor atheism are religions. These are attitudes. Some religions are theistic, and some religions are atheistic. Let us assume that all religions are equally important to their adherents. But it is not possible that all are true. There are varieties of theism. There are varieties of believing God exists or gods exist. Monotheism is the idea that only one God exists, and polytheism is the idea that many gods exist. And these views are incompatible. You can't believe both that only one God exists and many gods exist. This is the number one reason why religions are not compatible. Most people are some kind of monotheist. So, in this course, we refer primarily to the dominant monotheisms, such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. How diverse are religious worldviews? Here's a chart depicting data from a recent Pew Research report, The Global Religious Landscape. There is a link to this study, and you can find more details about this in Learning Module 1. This shows the geographic distribution of religious groups across the world. Some major religious groups by number of current adherents and essential doctrines. Christianity has about 2.1 billion members. What's important to them is the Nicene Creed and the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Islam has about 1.3 billion people. The 5 pillars of Islam express the core beliefs of Muslims. Hinduism has about 1 billion people. For more on Hinduism, see Hindu philosophy and core beliefs. In Buddhism, we have about 376 million people. Buddhists find the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and the 5 Precepts to be essential teachings. Judaism has about 14 million people. See the Principles of Faith and the 613 Commandments entries in Wikipedia for more on this. Mormonism, or Latter-day Saints, there are 13 million of these. See their articles of faith also in the in Wikipedia. Wikipedia has some pretty good, acceptable pages about each of these religions. Look for these phrases, look for these entries in those articles for more details on each of these different religions. You should familiarize yourself with these ideas. No religion has the majority. There are almost 7 billion people in the world, but no one religion holds a majority. That is, one cannot say that most people are members of any specific religion. In fact, one cannot say that most people believe in God. Also, more people say they believe in God than actually do. Here's a pie chart describing the relative proportion of various major religious groups. So now the group which has the most members with respect to all of the religions available would be Christians with over 30%. Take some time, find this link to Religion Facts, compare and contrast the various religions. It's important to be familiar with what these religious worldviews are. Why are people religious? Here's David Hume from his Natural History of Religion. As every inquiry which regards religion is of the utmost importance, there are 2 questions in particular which challenge our attention, to wit, that concerning its foundation in reason, and that concerning its origin in human nature. So Hume is on to an important distinction. There's a difference between justifying religion or justifying a religious belief and explaining religion or explaining a particular religious belief. Hume points out that there are really 2 big questions about separate issues whenever we talk about religion. One is about what evidence people have for accepting religious beliefs. The other is about what causes people to be religious. Let's say that being religious means believing specific religious claims or adopting religious practices, such as those described by Ninian Smart. The first issue is about whether, for instance, people have justifying reasons for any religious claim. Such reasons are evidence for believing that whatever one's religious view asserts is true. For example, some people believe that Jesus of Nazareth physically resurrected from the dead because sacred writings say so. And also they presume that such writings are true. Requests for foundational reasons, as Hume calls them, are requests for public, testable, objective foundations in logic and observations. Motives or causes are not relevant here. We use an argument to present rational reasons for believing a claim is true, where rational means evidence-based, non-emotional, non-personal, non-historical. Arguments demonstrate or prove that a claim is true, but they do not tell us what motivates a person to accept it. That's a separate issue. Reasons as evidence versus reasons as causes. Hume's second issue is about what motives or causes of religious belief there are. Joseph thinks Jesus physically resurrected because he was raised in the Catholic tradition, and Joseph strives to be a good Catholic. These reasons explain his belief by describing how it originated in his personal history. Here, Joseph's upbringing causes him to accept the resurrection, but notice that this does not prove Joseph actually believes this, or even that the resurrection actually happened. It just tells us what makes Joseph believe it. An explanation of religion or a religious belief helps us understand it by specifying what causes it. But explaining it does not justify it. For justification, we need logic and evidence presented in the form of a proof. We discuss this further in the next part of the course about religious experiences and a later section about the relation between faith and reason. Questions about the origins of religion in general or religious beliefs in particular are about causes or motives. Such questions seek explanations, not arguments. Here are some possible causes. Possible reasons explaining why people are religious. It promotes cooperation and group solidarity. It promotes health and longevity. It provides hope, values, and moral principles. People are religious because people have profoundly moving mystical experiences. The world appears amazing, complex, well-designed, purposeful. People are raised or indoctrinated into a religious tradition. People are religious because it gives color and purpose to otherwise dull and meaningless lives. Peer and family pressure make people religious. It enables wishful thinking. People fear death. People want to believe in supernatural forces, powers, beings. People are ignorant, credulous, gullible, and lack critical reasoning skills. It rewards suffering. Clever, selfish people control others by promising eternal bliss with God if people submit to their interpretation of God's will. Philosophers examine religious assertions. Discussions about religion often confuse its context with its content. Claims about the historical or personal or social effects of religion or its causes are about context. Claims about the credibility or meaning or truth of a religious belief are about content. Social or personal merits are different than rational merits. Whether having a religious belief makes people happy or is caused by fear, and whether a religious belief is justified by logic and evidence are separate issues. Whether a religion has a specific social effect is a separate issue from whether what the religion asserts is true. So there are two sorts of claims that should not be confused. Claims about the origins and effects of religion. Sociologists tell us that most people say they believe in at least one God or participate in religious rituals. Call this the outside view. It is concerned primarily with the context of religious beliefs and practice. Claims about the truth or justification of religious beliefs Most people sympathetic to religious worldviews or who practice a religion find emotional or rational reasons for their belief. Call this the inside view. It is concerned with religious content. Philosophers focus on content, not context. In this course, we examine content. Questions about the content of religious claims need to be disentangled from questions about their context, because they're about different topics. For instance, whether it is true that there is life after death is a different issue than whether it makes anyone happy to believe there is life after death. Whether humans have eternal souls is a separate issue from whatever history explains the belief that humans have eternal souls. Whether Jesus of Nazareth resurrected is a separate issue from whether Christians are better off believing that Jesus of Nazareth resurrected. In each of these examples above, the former issue is about content, the latter issue is about context. Both are interesting, but beliefs about the one issue do not imply anything about the other issue. The Incredulity of St. Thomas by Italian Baroque painter Caravaggio, circa 1602, shows the event that gave rise to the term Doubting Thomas, which is represented often in Christian art since at least the 400s. It illustrates a variety of theological points. In the Gospel according to John in the Old Testament, Thomas, the apostle, missed one of Jesus' appearances to the apostles after his resurrection and said, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into his side, I will not believe it." A week later, Jesus appeared and told Thomas to touch him and stop doubting. Then Jesus said, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." People who doubt claims about extraordinary events, such as resurrections, can be satisfied when others provide reasons that do not require just believing what someone tells them. People like Thomas do not trust information received from other people that one cannot adequately substantiate. These could be just rumors. By convention, and in courts of law, such evidence is hearsay and is unacceptable. Sometimes the demand for evidence must be met by direct experience. So there are 2 points here. Thomas needed more objective evidence based on his observations before he would believe that Jesus had actually risen from the dead. He needed to hear and see for himself that the mortally wounded Jesus who died on the cross was now alive, again. Jesus' visit provided that. Jesus himself praises also those who do not require such evidence. This is a reference to those among us who believe religious assertions based on faith alone. So there are 2 ways to acquire a belief among the religious and non-religious. Beliefs can be based on evidence, and beliefs based on faith. Summary. Reasoning about religion requires more than a description of its origins, varieties, or social effects. All of this is merely context. Every religion has a set of beliefs and practices, but studying the psychological or economic causes and effects of religion does not tell us whether any religious beliefs or practices are true or justified. That there are many different religions does not tell us whether what any of them say is true. Hume's point. Examining the context and context of religion are different issues, but doing one does not preclude the other. We need to do both, but they should not be confused. One can study religion as a valuable social phenomenon and as a rational system of beliefs. Don't just accept a religious belief because it makes you happy, and don't just dismiss a religion because it provides little or no justification for its doctrine. Social scientists who study religion neglect the insider viewpoint. They reduce religious content to religious context. What is the philosophy of religion? The philosophy of religion sees religion as a set of beliefs and claims and practices worthy of analysis and evaluation. Religion offers a worldview. It describes and explains reality, sometimes accurately, and not merely metaphorically, and sometimes it doesn't. But literature and science also do describe and explain reality. Unlike science and literature, religions prescribe how we should deal with reality, or at least our perceptions of it, or tell us how we ought to live. This prescriptive nature perhaps makes religion especially important. The philosophy of religion finds that being religious isn't the same thing as being spiritual. What is spirituality? Perspectives abound. If you say it is expressed in one's love of music or art or literature, or that it is the feeling of awe one has looking from a mountaintop, well, then both religious people and non-religious people experience that. But being spiritual does not imply any belief about anything divine or supernatural. In this course, we examine religious claims regardless of any accompanying spiritual feelings. If we want to distinguish what is true from what is false, spirituality is either irrelevant or adds to the confusion. The philosophy of religion presumes that religion is not trivial and that it deserves closer critical examination than spirituality. Religion is public. Spirituality is personal. So religion as a highly organized, shared human activity has a more profound effect on human culture and history than mere spirituality. Can one really say religion is purely personal, or that religion has no effects beyond adding color and purpose to the lives of its practitioners? Here's my bias. I don't think so, and I'll make the case for this as we move ahead in the course. In short, the philosophy of religion clarifies religious ideas and tests religious claims. This will be our primary task in the course. We are especially interested in Hume's foundation in reason questions. This is the end of Learning Module 1.